Now, before I start this with today's video, I have a quick disclaimer. No, I have not lost my mind. I know this title seems freaking insane. I know we've been talking about how Colorado is gone, but just give me 5 minutes of your time, or just a couple minutes of your time to explain why I believe the Colorado Senate race in 2022 could be closer than people expect. I'm not saying Bennet will lose or anything like that. There is a chance, though, that he could lose if the right candidate runs in the right environment. Now, again, I'm not saying he's going to win. All right, in fact, I think Bennet has like an 80% chance of winning as of now. But some interesting data has been given to me lately. Now, before we start with today's video, again, if you enjoy these type of videos, smash the like button down below. Sorry, I'm still a little bit sick. Subscribe, share with your friends, hit the little bell, and yes. Again, sorry for my deathly voice, or if I feel like I'm out of wind. I'm sorry, I've been sick a couple days, so that's why I've not really posted much, because I got sick. But, Colorado. Let us just take a look at Colorado, the exit polls, to show you guys what's really going on in Colorado before we even get to the results, before any of that. So, Colorado. In 2016, it had a D+8 environment. And Clinton won the state by around 4 to 5, I believe it was. And Republicans thought, okay, it's only going to get worse from here on out. And it did. But you maybe ask yourself, well, if it was a D+8 environment in 2016, it must have been like D+20 in 2020. Well, prepare to get frickin' just shitted on. It was D+4. You heard that right. It went from D+8 to D+4. But it got significantly more Republican, or Democrat, I should say. You know why? Look at the frickin' independent vote. Just look at it. Frickin' why? Trump lost it by 15 from winning it by 3. This alone is the reason that Colorado voted 13 points Democrat? But here's the odd part about this. This is nearly identical with what happened in Virginia. Okay, it was like a D+8 state in 2016. Trump won the independent vote in Virginia by a couple points. 2020, it actually shifted more Republican, but he did worse with independents. The exact same trend. So if we apply the same trend as we saw in Virginia, the suburbs of Virginia, that is a Republican win. Just that alone. Again, I'm not saying it will or anything like that. But if you just look at that single freaking data point, Republicans win. But there's another reason that I think Republicans could win Colorado Senate race without looking at election results, looking at candidates, none of that. You see this right here, the white non-college vote. Trump won them by only 3. And they're 41% of the electorate. Youngkin did I think it was 6 or 7 points better with the white non-college vote. It did significantly better with the white college vote. If the same thing happens in the great state of Colorado, you're going to see the exact same trend as you did in Virginia. Republicans shocked everybody and it flips. This is the main reason. A lot of these white non-college graduates, a lot of them are from California. A lot of them are more West Coast types. They're more cringe, but they're not really what you would call your Midwestern blue-collar Republican, or Democrat, I should say. They're more like West Coast, Portland suburban voters. That's what they are in a nutshell, but not as, insane as Antifa. But you get the point that if the exact same trend happens in Virginia, or Colorado as it did in Virginia, which these two states are very similar in trends, you could potentially see the state just swing Republican and potentially flip. Just that alone. But here's the odd part. The very strange part. Even if this didn't happen, let's say we just ignore the correlations with Virginia, Colorado, all that nonsense, but instead look purely at past results. Bennet may be in trouble. So Bennet won by around 5 points, but let's look at this for a second. Libertarian candidate, Lily Williams, she was not a libertarian. She is the farthest thing from a libertarian, alright? I mean, she was not a libertarian when you look at her. I mean, she was more right-wing than, more of a right-wing libertarian. Someone kind of like a Ron Paul type, to a lesser extent. So, this alone makes up a huge chunk of Bennett's margin. There's a couple other independents here who probably would have broke 50-50. So, Bennett's real margin of victory when you get rid of the independents, all that stuff, probably a 2 or 3 point victory. Now, if you look at the House race, you look at the generic ballot in 2016, Republicans won the generic ballot by round 1. So, if you take out the independent vote, Bennet probably won 2 or 3 points. He roughly voted 3 to 4 points left of the national environment. That's probably what happened, alright? Which, not that extreme. That's something like the reverse of, like, Wisconsin. It voted, like, I think it was, like, 2 or 3 points right of the nation. So, it's kind of the reverse of Wisconsin. But, here's the thing, though. I'm sorry about that, folks. I had to cough real quick. In 2010, Republicans won the House by, roughly 7 points. The 2010 Senate race, Bennet won by under 2. He beat Ken Buck, and take a guess which party screwed over the Republicans. Yeah, I guessed it, the freaking Libertarians. Of course, just standing ovation for the Libertarian Party. Good job. Those freaking people. But anyways, you get the point that Republicans in Colorado for Senate races do traditionally good when it's compared to the generic ballot. Now, again, I know Colorado still voted Democrat, but if you take out the freaking third parties, Buck would have won. Let's be real here. And there's just a lot of weird shifts in Colorado. Not saying a certain word, but very intriguing election for Colorado. It deserves its own video. But you notice in every single one of these election results, there's one county in particular that's been nearly identical with the state. Larimer County. I said this months ago. Whoever wins Larimer County wins the election. I don't freaking know why. I had to look more into it. But Glenn lost it by around 5. He lost the state by around 5. 2020, you go down here, Gardner lost by around 10 here. He lost statewide by around 9.5. Very similar. Trump got fucking bitch slapped here. He lost by around 15. He lost statewide by around 13 to 14. Very similar. This is the one county that Republicans, if they want to win the state of Colorado, have to flip. Now, I believe it's more of like a weird suburban, exurban county. You got Fort Collins there, which, don't go to Fort Collins. Anyways, so you get the point that Republicans have a chance based on past results to win. But the question is this: how can they win? Why could they win, and all that other stuff? Well, you remember how I said that Colorado, when you look at the generic ballot, voted a couple points left of the nation. In 2010, it was won by Bennet by around 1.5 points. 2016, more favorable environment, he won by around 5. Noticing a trend here. Bennet has an extremely low ceiling here. He is one of the worst candidates for Colorado. I don't know why they keep picking him, but he barely wins every single time. And in 2022, same things happening. He's barely cracking 50%, if he even is. Michael Bennet only up by 8. Sure, he isn't 50%. Barely at 52%. Barely at 51%. 48%. 40%. Notice a trend in all of this. Bennet cannot crack 50% at any of these polls. That is never a good sign. We saw this in New Jersey. We all thought that Murphy was going to win by 8 to 9 points because the polls had him up by then. Well, guess what? He barely cracked 50% of those polls, and all the undecideds flooded to the Republicans. This is a scary sign for Democrats if this holds up. And if Cory Gardner decides to run, I'm putting this lean D. I don't care if Oh, polls say this is history. He's underperforming every single poll, even from 2016, let alone 2010. He's underperforming himself. He's doing terrible. I know it's a red wave year and all, but he should still be cracking 50% all these polls. I know it's early, but still, it's never a good sign to be this early and not even crack 50% in a state that's supposed to go safe Democrat. I mean, yeah, the undecided is probably going to break towards Bennet, but it's never a good sign when the incumbent is not even cracking 50% in most instances. Sometimes it does really matter, like in 2016. But here and now, this is disastrous news for Democrats. Now, here's how Democrats could lose this race. I think this is a race for Democrats to lose. Let alone one thing. Freaking Denver, Boulder, and Aperho. You know what? I'm not even trying. You get the point what I'm saying. Adams County. We'll just use Adams and Jefferson. These counties, in particular freaking Denver, the only reason this county, the state continues voting Democrat, this single freaking county, it voted for Hickenlooper by around 220,000 votes. He nearly won the state by around 300,000. That alone is like 80% of his vote. Boulder County, 100,000. There you go. 2 freaking counties determined the race. And this is with terrible results for Republicans in Jefferson, Europa, Adams, Laramie, and even Pueblo, which that's surprising to me, but that's what happened. But you get the point. Democrats here get a lot of votes from here. Well, take a guess who underperforms that every single time. Bennet. He only won Denver by a measly 160,000 votes. I know population increased here, but even back then, that's not a good result. 160,000? Yeah, you got turnout and all, but he always underperforms. You go to Boulder County, he won by around 80,000 votes. Adams only by like 20,000. 40,000. What, 20,000? That is not margins to win Colorado now. Because you notice a lot of these rural counties, they were nowhere near Trump margins. They just weren't. Like Baca County, for example, I believe Trump won this county by a significant margin in 2020. Yeah, he got 84% of the vote here. Republicans got 68%. If you combine rural support with Bennett's not so great numbers in the suburbs, that alone shifts it. And I can show you right here. So you just, let's say Laramie County shifts Republican. Let's say Adams shifts a bit Republican. Europa shifts a bit Republican. Jefferson shifts a bit Republican. Denver, just shift, similar margins. Boulder, similar margins. And you do a little bit better in the southern half of the state, and there you go. That's how you win, and do a little bit better in Weld. And with it being a red wave year, it's not nuts. This alone gets the state to extremely manageable margins. Extremely. If this is based on just red wave tendencies, based on Virginia and all of that, this alone gets it within 5 points. And if you include Garner's margin, probably within 4-3. This is why Democrats are in big trouble here. Now, if I had to push it, what would I put it as right now? Likely Democrat. Gardner has not announced he's running or not yet, so we can't say it's lean Democrat. But every single data point is indicating that Bennett's in trouble. If the right guy runs, and especially in a bunch of these places where he's not cracking the results, Bennet is screwed. If they get somebody like Gardner on the ballot who can do pretty well in the rural parts of the state, I think he did underperform Trump, 84% of Baca. Yeah, he did underperform Trump by like a point or two in the rules. So you combine Gardner's decent support in the suburban counties, or I should say Glenn's support in the suburban parts of the state with Trump's rural support, you get the results to win the state. Again, I'm not saying it's going to go Republican, but I'm saying that Democrats should be a little bit panicking. They should be panicking a little bit that, hey, Republicans in 2016, they only lost because the rural support was not the same as Trump's. And these Trump voters, they're starting to vote heavy Republican. We saw this in Virginia. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with friends, hit the little bell, and yes, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next video or live stream. Thank you guys for watching.